What is going on? Welcome to Aged and Barreled. Today we're talking all about how these impact these. Tons of whiskey is either matured or finished in casks that used to hold wine. Because of this, lots of whiskey flavors are directly derived from wine. Essentially, aging or finishing whiskey is an acceptable flavoring process. Today, wine finishing has become extremely common. It's very popular within the Scotch world, but it's branched out to most of the world, and it's even creeped into the American whiskey industry as well. So what does all of this mean? If you want to know a lot about whiskey, it helps to know a lot about wine. There are tons and tons of different types of wines, but the main types used for whiskey making are fortified wine, dessert wine, and red wine. We're going to take a look at sherry, port, Madeira, Sauternes, Tokaj, and Pinot Noir, and Cabernet Sauvignon. Before we jump in and go over these different types of wine, I do want to go over a couple things first. When describing the wines, I'm going to mention tannin, sweetness, acidity, and the notes. Sweetness and the notes should probably speak for themselves, but I'm going to quickly define tannins and acidity. Tannin is an aspect of the wine that causes an astringent, almost bitter taste, leaving your mouth feeling a unique, dry, gripping sensation. Tannins are naturally found, but in the case of wine, the tannins come from both the skins of the grapes and the wood from the casks that they're aged in. Acidity is much simpler than tannin. This is just a sour sensation, often described as sharp. For me, the poster child for acidity is a tart lemon. All right, with that out of the way, let's jump in and take a deeper look at these wines. Let's start off with the king of wine casks. This is the stuff that made Macallan, Dalmore, Glendronach so popular, sherry. Sherry is by far the most common wine cask used, so much so that the demand for sherried casks actually outweighs the demand for sherry. This is a fortified dessert wine. It comes in both dry and sweet styles, and a range of colors from light golden brown to a dark reddish hue. Most common types are PX or Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso. Pedro Jimenez being by far the sweetest, and Oloroso being some of the most robust and boldest. This wine is going to give off flavors of raisin, fig, red fruit, and nuts. Next up, we have port, another very common cask type. This is, again, a fortified dessert wine. This one is from Portugal, hence the name port. Often coming in tawny or ruby styles, this has high sweetness, high tannin, and imparts notes of plum, chocolate, raisin, and cherry. Up next is Madeira. This is another fortified dessert wine from Portugal. Specifically, this one is from the island of Madeira. It has low tannin, high acidity, and can give off notes of walnut, peach, and orange. Sauternes and Tokaj I'm going to bundle together because they're very similar. Sauternes is a French Bordeaux dessert wine. It is very sweet, light golden hue, and typically with low tannins and high acidity. This wine gets so sweet by utilizing a fungus called botrytis, which is also referred to as noble rot. Noble rot is a fungus that thrives in humid areas, and when it grows on the grapes, it drains the moisture from them, concentrating all the flavors and especially the sweetness. This is the same process for Tokaj as well, which is a Hungarian dessert wine. Very, very similar to Sauternes. Tokaj actually has tons of pedigree and heritage as the oldest classified wine region in the world. These wines are both very sweet and complex and give off notes of honey, lemon, apricot, and nuts. The final two we're going to be looking at are red wines. I specifically chose Pinot Noir and Cabernet Sauvignon, but there are definitely others as well, common ones such as Merlot, for example. Pinot Noir, this is a low tannin, low sweetness typically. It can give off notes of plum, cherry, raspberry, and even mushrooms sometimes, so it has a savory aspect to it. And Cabernet Sauvignon, this is another wine originating from Bordeaux, France. Typically high tannins, low sweetness, and can give off notes of wood, cranberry, red meat, and pencil lead. All right, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope this glance into the world of wine and its impact on whiskey was helpful. Maybe you learned something new. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, enjoy.